What's up, guys? Welcome to B Sports Picks. So yesterday was a very tough loss. We had the Pistons at a +6. They ended up losing by 7. So it was a half a point that they ended up losing by. We also had the under on the 227. They ended up hitting 215. So it was a very easy hit on the under, but then that hook killed us. Anyways, it's a second day losing for the free picks. Yesterday was actually a tough loss overall for me. So I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to try something different here. I'm going to give you guys the breakdown of all the games that I'm looking at, and then you guys can kind of decide what you want to do there. Instead of me just handing out the free picks today, I'm going to give you the full breakdown of what I'm looking at. And then you guys, like I said, I'm going to show you. I'm going to throw out a very special offer. I normally don't do this. I haven't done this in months. So just stick around for that, and I'm going to hook you guys up with something very special today. If you guys haven't done so, make sure you subscribe. Also, check out the free picks. The link is in the description, or go to beastsportspicks.com. All right, so here's the proof from yesterday. Like I said, we had a +6.5. They ended up hitting at 7. So it was a half a point. They call it a hook. I ended up losing by the hook. We also had the under on a 227. They ended up hitting at a 215. Which, like I said, it was an easy on the under, but then we lost on the spread. So tough loss overall. Now, when stuff like this starts happening, I start doubting myself. Just like everybody, I'm human. So you start doubting yourself. You start saying like, shit, what am I doing wrong? So anyways, I went back and looked at my bet tracker. This is very important. This is what professionals do. You have to go back and look at your tracking and make sure you're tracking all your bets. So right away, I went in there. Like I said, it was a tough loss yesterday. So I started looking through all my bets. And I started noticing, like, okay, points, rebounds, and assists. I had a bunch of losses. I had a bunch of wins, shots on goal. I just didn't have the full breakdown. So I actually have a custom bet tracker. If you guys are interested in that bet tracker, which I can release for free, just let me know if you're interested. I'm not sure if I'll do that quite yet, but if you are interested, send me a text message. Send me a text message right here. Say, hey, I'm interested in the free bet tracker. So like I said, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do that quite yet. But if I do, you'll be the first to know. Anyway, so I went down and I started looking at every single one of my bets for the month, and points, rebounds, and assists. You can see I had 45 wins, 21 losses, shots on goal, 21 wins, 14 losses. Even looking at this, it looks like shit. It's like, damn, so then you start looking at the win percentages. 66 total plays, that's a 68% hit rate on the points, rebounds, and assists. And then on the shots on goal, it's 35 total plays, so it's a 60% hit rate. So now the only issue is I'm noticing that I'm starting to do too many parlays. I do have a lot of parlays still today. That's just what I kind of gotten used to. So this is one very strong note that you have to be tracking, because I used to do a lot of straight bets, and once in a while I'll do 2-leg parlays. So what I'm noticing here is that even though this hit rate is much higher, because it's a parlay, one leg will kill it. So I hope this is making sense. If not, I can explain it better. Let me know in the comments if that doesn't make sense. But what I'm trying to say here is that what I figured out is that I have to start staying away from parlays as much as I have been. That's what the bottom line is. All right, so for football, I'm going to tell you straight up, I do have a very strong 2-leg parlay for tomorrow for NFL. I'm going to throw that out tomorrow. And like I said, it's going to be part of the special deal that I'm going to throw out at the end of this video. But again, it's a 2-leg parlay. It's very strong. Let me get right into basketball. And then, like I said, for football, it's going to be part of the deal in this video. There's only 2 teams that were on a back-to-back. So Cleveland played yesterday. They played against the Kings, and then they have a 1-day rest advantage. Boston played against Brooklyn Nets, which is horrible enough to say they ended up going 2 times in overtime. So Boston is a very good team, and the Nets pretty much suck. So for them to have gone 2 times on overtime and then travel, and then I live in Chicago, or near Chicago, I should say, but it's below 0, it's freezing. So just imagine you're coming out of a very late game, double overtime, extremely tired. You come into this freezing weather. It's not good. So Chicago does have a 1-day advantage. Plus, it's not just a 1-day advantage, it's the double overtime that kills it also for Boston. So you want to definitely start taking a look at Chicago today. Let's start digging into these numbers here. As you can see, I like to go into Sharp Edge tool. If you don't have access to this tool, it's 2 weeks for free. The link is in the description for this. I'm going to kind of go through these numbers very quickly, but I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm looking at. So the Bulls did start at a +2.5, and now they're currently favored. So they went from an underdog to a favorite. That's a big flip-flop. So right here is telling you the nuclear plays to start looking at the Bulls at a +2.5. The Cavaliers and the Magic, same reason, is because of the back-to-back situation. I don't trust the Magic at all, so I'm not going to be looking at that game at all. The Warriors and the Timberwolves, they started at 239. They're currently at a 234. It's a 5-point line movement. It's actually a reverse line move. Celtics and the Bulls, it's also going on the under. It started at a 232. It's currently at a 229. So that's a 3-point line move. Again, that goes into the tired factor from the Celtics. They're not going to be scoring as much. And then the Hornets did start at a minus 8.5, and then they're now at a minus 10.5. And you can see the splits is pretty much even, but yet the line is still shifting 2 points in the Hornets' favor. So we start going into these games here. These are just projections. You can see the Hornets are supposed to win this by 12. I'll just give you the ones I'm looking at, like I said, and then I'll give you some insights on why these teams are so strong. So the Hornets are supposed to win by 12. They're going against a very weak Wizards team. So Trae Young did get traded over to the Wizards. The Wizards, I think they've lost 5 in a row, but Trae Young is still not playing. He's not projected to play until after the All-Star break. Washington also only shot 30% against Denver. Literally, they missed 70% of their shots. They're actually on an 8-game losing streak, not a 5-game losing streak. So let's get a little bit deeper into this. Again, Washington is on an 8-game losing streak, not winning streak. They're 4-18 on the road. So literally, they've only won 4 games on the road. Trae Young is still sitting until after the All-Star break. They just traded McCollum. So the roster is very gutted, plus they're losing a lot of games. They've only won very limited games. And like I said, they've only hit 30% of their shots against Denver. Now the Hornets on the other side, they're fighting for a playoff spot. They're covering spreads. They have a very young core with LaMelo Ball. He's averaging about 30 points per game. And then he's averaging about 30 points per game against the Wizards. Now they have a very strong rookie with Kanu Pell. This dude's a nightly 20-point threat every time he plays. Now, the last time they played each other, the last 2 times, the Hornets ended up winning by 13, and then they ended up winning by 16. So they are covering the spreads against Washington. And then, like I mentioned, they started at an 8.5. They're currently at a 10.5. Even though it's not so heavy on the bets and the money, the line is still shifting in their favor. And like I mentioned, they are covering their spreads. Now, the second game I want to go through is the Washington Wizards and the Timberwolves. You can see right here, it's 116 to 114 is the projected. So that's right around 230. That's the projections, but you can see it started at a 239 and it's currently all the way to 234. So I'm actually looking at the under. It looks very strong today. And you can see over here, it's 11-5 when the Timberwolves have gone on the under in the last 16 games. They've gone 11 times on the last 16. So 68% hit rate on the under. So now I'm going to give you some insights as far as this game for the under. Again, I'm not going to give you the exact lines. I'm just giving you the overall picture. Minnesota has an elite defense, A- grade. The under has hit 11 of their last 16. Rudy Gobert anchors in the paint, so he's very strong as a defender. Jimmy Butler is out for the season with an ACL tear on the Warriors side. And basically, Stephen Curry is left with the load to carry the team by himself. So you add all that together, the line dropped 5 points. It's very solid on the under. So now, again, I have a very strong 2-leg parlay in the VIP already. I'm going to give you the exact reasoning behind it. And then, like I said, you guys can decide what numbers you want to do and all that stuff. And I'm going to give you a very special offer at the end of this explanation. But they're both going to be inside this game, the Celtics versus the Bulls. So the grand total for the projected score is 234. If we scroll down here, you can see the opening line was 232. It's currently at a 230. So the line is dropping. The projected score is higher than the line. So that's a negative sign already. Now, if we look at the open, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, Chicago opened up at a plus 2.5. They're currently at a -1. So they went from underdog to favorite, even though 69% of the money, 55% of the bets, or vice versa, 69% of bets, 55% of the money is coming in on Boston. The line is shifting in the Bulls' favor. The line is also shifting downward. So you can see it's a pretty even, it's not a big mismatch. It's 5-5. So Celtics cover the spread 5 out of 10 times, and the Bulls the same thing, 50%. Celtics do cover the spreads against the Bulls. This goes back to last season, 60% of the time. Now, this is a very strong indication here, which is the insights, 85%, 12-2. But it's not counting the fact, like I said, they played double overtime yesterday, plus they traveled and they went late. Now, another thing to note is that this is actually, both of these are contradictions because the total points is saying because it's saying that the Bulls have gone on the over 12 of the last 16 games. So we're actually going against the public on both of these and against the insights because of the heavy information about the double overtime. So now that I'm looking at this very clearly, you might want to stay away from the over-under. I've already taken it. I'm leaving it as is. Now the Bulls have won 3 straight games. They're playing at home with a rest advantage. Josh Giddey is playing the best of his basketball right now. Kobe White has been excellent, and they're 22-22 playing for a playoff position. And again, the line is telling the story. The Boston went from a 3-point favorite to an underdog. Bulls went from underdog to favorite. So that's a big flip-flop from the sharp money coming in. So now here's some factors to consider for the under again. There's some more information here. Jason Tatum obviously has been out for the season. Derek White is also out. The team is exhausted from a double overtime. Their offensive ceiling is significantly lower with their best 2 guards being out. Double overtime drains the legs. Shooting percentages drop on back-to-backs. Cold weather travel adds to fatigue, and expect a slower pace overall. Now, just recapping all of this stuff very quickly. Again, it's going to be the Hornets. It's going to be very strong against Washington. The line is all the way up to 10.5. That's still going to, I think it's still going to go higher than that because it's still early in the day. Washington is tanking completely. Warriors and the Wolves on the under. The line dropped 5 points, and Curry is left to carry the bag. And then the Bulls to win because of that double overtime on Boston side. Not only that, but Chicago is rested at home. And the Chicago Bulls have won 3 straight games in a row. And the last thing, like I mentioned, is the Celtics on the under. You might want to stay away from this one, but there's no Tatum, there's no White, double overtime, travel. And then if we look at something called Kalshi bets, it's saying 88% of the money is coming in on the under. Something that stood out from different people that I follow, different things that I do, 76ers stood out to beat the Knicks. I'm not going to go into those details. I did not take it. That's just something that stood out as far as people that I follow, people that I talk to. So if you want to take a look at that, that's up to you. Now, here's a special offer, guys. I have not done this in months. I probably won't do it again for a long time. Only 11 spots right here, a 5-day VIP pass. What this gets you is you would get all the plays that I threw in. There's 2 of them here that actually 2 of them that I explained are in here. Then I have 3 props in basketball, and then also a very strong something called a correlation bet over here. So again, guys, that's a total of 3 very strong parlays and 3 props. Plus, you're going to get the NFL parlay for tomorrow included. All right, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. This has been a little bit of a longer video, but I explained 4 different plays in one video. So I hope you guys appreciate that. I really appreciate the people that have been commenting. We did not hit the 50 comments that I wanted. So I'm not going to be giving away that extra free week pass, but I instead giving you the chance for a $5 day pass. So make sure you take advantage of that. The way you're going to get this is you're going to text me. You're going to say, hey, I'm interested in the $5 pass. Now, again, it's only for the first 11 people. I'm also going to throw the link in the comments. So if you want to see, or the first 11 people, I should say, it's going to be in the comments. Thank you guys so much, man. I really appreciate you all. Let's have a great day.